We're going to start today with the ending. Terry Brennan was the star in our game against Ohio State. If you haven't heard of Terry Brennan, well, join the club, and we'll get to him in a second. This is part of my 1946 college football realignment project. I have been coaching Notre Dame. As you can see, Brennan was an absolute force in this game. He had 102 yards rushing and 80 receiving yards, including 2 touchdowns. It's not surprising, actually. He's clearly the best rusher on the team, and he's been my go-to guy for most of our games so far. Things actually started off on the wrong foot for Terry. Brennan fumbled an early punt. That led immediately to an Ohio State touchdown and put them up 7-0. But we came storming back after this run by Brennan. It was still early in the first quarter when we tied the score on this long pass. Brennan got one of his receiving touchdowns here. And here was his second, making it 21-7. Terry was simply too much for their defense to handle. Well, as you can imagine, all of this made me really curious about Terry Brennan. See, I really don't know all that much about college football in 1946. Obviously, I wasn't alive at the time, and I guess I haven't spent quite as much time researching the subject as I probably could have. I wanted to know a little bit more, and so I looked into it. Brennan was a star athlete at Marquette High School in Milwaukee. He committed to go to Notre Dame in 1944. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any newspaper articles from his time in Wisconsin. I'm guessing that this is due to a lack of Milwaukee newspapers over at newspapers.com, at the moment at least. It's a problem I run into all the time. Brennan apparently had football in his blood. His father, Martin Brennan, attended Notre Dame briefly, but never played for its football team. Instead, he played for Marquette University in 1910. Brennan scored a touchdown in the game against Notre Dame that year, which resulted in a 5-5 draw. Touchdowns didn't change to 6 points until 1912, if you didn't know. Terry's brother, James Brennan, played left halfback for Notre Dame starting in 1944. Jim Brennan famously scored 2 touchdowns in a big win against Northwestern that year. Jim followed that up with 2 more touchdowns against Georgia Tech the very next week. It seems that Jim spent most of 1945 in the Army along with their other brother, Joe. I'm not sure if Terry was drafted or not. The details are pretty sketchy. Jim apparently played once in 1946. He got a single carry for a single yard. Jim was a little bit more active in 1947. He scored a touchdown and gained 18 yards on 4 carries. That touchdown came on a 14-yard gain late in Notre Dame's 59-6 victory against Tulsa that season. And yeah, this is where it all becomes kind of frustrating. I mean, Jim Brennan sort of fades into obscurity. I've got no idea why he played so rarely after such a great season in 1944. I can't find any information anywhere. And Terry really isn't much easier. Terry Brennan was a star at Notre Dame right from the start. He averaged 4.4 yards per carry and scored 2 touchdowns in 1945, his freshman year. He seemed to really catch fire in 1946. By 1947, he was clearly one of the stars of the team, scoring 11 touchdowns. Brennan probably would have contended for the Heisman Trophy in 1948 if it wasn't for an injury. As it stands, he was held to 2 rushing touchdowns all year. He was gaining yardage, though, averaging 5.9 yards on 48 carries. Well, he seems like a shoo-in for the NFL, right? In December 1948, Terry Brennan was drafted by 2 teams, the NFL's Philadelphia Eagles and the All-American Football Conference's Chicago Rockets. That's right, there were 2 professional football leagues in 1948, which is something that many of us forget. The AAFC lasted until the end of the 1949 season, although there were a lot of rumors of a pending merger throughout early 1949 and late 1948. Brennan, however, decided to join neither league. In fact, he retired from football in early 1949. Now, this is unbelievable, especially from today's perspective. I mean, a star player like this retiring and not playing at all professionally is something that's really hard for us to understand or imagine from the modern point of view. But it really wasn't all that rare back then. I mean, professional football in the late 40s wasn't exactly a well-paying profession, and of course, the sport was pretty brutal. Interestingly, Brennan became Notre Dame head coach in 1954. He was only 26 years old. Marvin Brennan was a lawyer, and apparently Terry's brothers all went into law. I'm really not sure what happened, but Terry decided to pursue a career in football coaching instead. Let me know if you guys know any more about this story. Brennan's coaching career wasn't exactly great. Notre Dame did well in 1954 and 55, but a 2-8 record in 1956 really marred things. The Fighting Irish were 4-2 in 1957 when they played Oklahoma on November 16th that year. Oklahoma was undefeated and ranked number 2 in the country. They had won 47 straight up to that point. Senior halfback Dick Lynch scored the only touchdown in Notre Dame's 7-0 victory. It came on 4th and goal from the 3-yard line with less than 4 minutes to go. The victory was so notable that Terry Brennan wrote a book about it, extolling his team's performance and talking about that gutsy decision to go for a touchdown instead of kicking the field goal. Well, Brennan's career as a head coach unfortunately didn't last long. He was gone after the 1958 season, and then he was gone from football for good. I guess that all goes to show you how fleeting fame can be.